Good evening.
Good evening.
The Twiggs County Board of Education meeting is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, August the 13th, 2019, and the time is 6:01 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. I'm happy to say that all of our members are present, along with our superintendent, for our meeting this evening. And we're going to move to item 4 of our agenda, and that is the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting, August the 13th, 2019. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second motion.
The motion has been made by Ms. Blackshear and seconded by Mr. Rouse to, oh, excuse me, let me start all over. You're on my mind, Mr. Rouse. The motion has been made by Ms. Blackshear and seconded by Mr. Harris to approve the meeting for the agenda for tonight's meeting, August the 13th, 2019. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. And you see the minutes for our July the 23rd and July the 25th. July the 23rd was the DOE work session, and July the 25th, 2019 was the DOE call session. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of those meetings, either separately or together?
I'll make that motion.
The motion has been made by Ms. Stokes for both meetings, for both of those,
Yes, ma'am.
both minutes for both of those meetings. Is there a second?
I see.
The motion has been made by Ms. Stokes and seconded by Ms. Blackshear to approve the minutes of our July the 23rd, 2019 DOE work session and July the 23rd, 2019 DOE call session. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. And that motion carries unanimously. And at this time, we're going to ask Ms. Blackshear if she will give us an ethics statement, please.
Thank you. In accordance with regulations set forth by the Georgia Ethics Commission, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflict of interest and interest of such conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or scheduled before us on our agenda? Madam Chair, we'll proceed with our agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. And do we have anyone who has signed up for any public participation, Ms. Timms? We don't. Okay, it's my understanding that there's no one who's signed up for public participation. So our next item will be our superintendent's comments and announcements. Mr. Dixon.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, fellow board members, I want to say thank you for all that you do for the boys and girls and scholars of Twiggs County Public Schools. It's an exciting time to be in Twiggs. This school year has started off with a bang. We're excited. The wheels are turning, and our boys and girls are in classes. And I want to say that we had a great opening of school. I was in the schools on the beginning of school, the first day, and to my surprise, most of the students were in classes almost by the first hour of school. And normally you don't walk into schools, especially in the middle high school, and see students in classes. I was in the media center and only saw a few students, and those were new students to the district. And we had just a few other students that needed to be schedules tweaked to get around. We're excited about some of the new programs that we are offering this year. So we're excited about that. So we have some good things that are happening this year. So we're off to a good start. I want to say thank you all for your thoughts and prayers during my family's the passing of my brother. It's been a trying time, but we've gotten through it, and we'll continue to get through it. Also, keep the Basley family in your thoughts and prayers as they're going through a trying time this week with the tragedy that happened over the weekend. She was the mother of one of our scholars who was in the 5th grade at JES, and so we are offering the support that we can offer. We share with the family on Saturday morning. Mr. Park and I ended up at the house both around 8:30 Saturday morning, so we were able to share with the family early Saturday morning, and we continue to reach out, and we'll be sharing with them. And the services are planned for Saturday at the high school gym for this Saturday for the tragedy of the one whose life was lost in the fire this past weekend. We are excited to announce that the state school superintendent will be in our county on Thursday of this week, and I believe that's at, gonna fly here at 2:00 p.m. from 2 to 3. He will be passing out some books, but it's just good to have the state school superintendent come into our city. We would like for our stakeholders, if you have an opportunity to come and be around, we would love to have you come and share and be with us. We'll be down at Jeffersonville Elementary School, and we would love to have you come and see what he has to say, and as he does his book distribution. So the main thing that he's here for is to do the book distribution, but we would love to have you here. If any of our board members can make it, we would love to have you as well as any of our stakeholders that are available to come. It's almost football time. We're getting there. Our football coach will be here a little later on as he's wrapping up the football practice to give us an update, but we will do a scrimmage game on this Friday night over in Tallaton, Georgia. That's a little ride, but we will be traveling on this Friday night. So we're excited about that. We have some great things going on. Our assistant superintendent is on the mend. She sends a big, huge thank you to this board for the gift that you sent to her, and I won't knock our agenda off, but I do have a picture that I'll share with you of the gift that I sent to her, and she was overwhelmed by the expression of love that was shown to her from this board. And we want you to know that she greatly appreciated the gift that you sent to her. And Madam Chair, that concludes my announcement.
And Mr. Dixon, we just have a small question from your board. This is from
Thank you.
We just have a small thing.
Thank you much.
I've been thinking about you and your loss.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, with that being said, we're gonna move on to our business agenda, and the first item on our business agenda is an information item, and this is the organizational chart, Mr. Dixon.
Yes. Madam Chair, we have each one of you have it at your placemats already. I believe it's a copy of our Twiggs County Public Schools organizational chart, and Ms. Tina, I don't know, can you throw it?
Send it to me.
Okay, flash it up so our people can see it out. But if you
send it to
look
me.
on our organizational chart, it just gives our department heads and me as the lead learner and the breakout as to who reports to who, and gives some clarity. If you have questions about different areas, it will give you an opportunity to know who to contact for those different areas. And if you have any questions, you can take it, look over it, and I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you might have tonight or in the future. Okay? And it will also be posted on our website as well.
On the website, could we also put contact information? I mean, it might already be part of it as well.
Yes, ma'am, we will make sure
Just
their
like an
contact,
email or something underneath.
Yes, ma'am.
Or
We'll
phone
make
number,
sure.
or phone number.
their contact
That'd
information
be
is there.
nice.
That would be nice. We'll make sure of that.
Any questions right now? You guys want to look at it? All right, thank you, Mr. Dixon, for on to item B, which is an information item, and Mr. Dixon, you have an enrollment update for our system.
Yes, sir. I'm excited about, our enrollment data. Let's look at it as a 3-year trend. And as we're looking at it, from 2017-18, we started out with 794 students. 2018-19, we had a slight dip, down to 785. Year to date, we're looking back up, we're back at 792, with students, continuously to enroll. We are full in our pre-K with a waiting list. So that's good. We've had to add, we had planned for 2 kindergarten classes. We've had to add a 3rd, so that's promising. So I'm looking for our enrollment to probably top off, the 794. So I'm looking for this year to be a higher enrollment year, over the 3-year trend of what we're looking at. So I'm excited about that. The more numbers we have, the more we can do. Numbers produce dollars. So I'm excited about what's happening with our numbers as we continue to. It's slow growth, but we're proud of the growth that we are seeing. We don't have many babies being born in the county. I had a young man here today from the Census Bureau, and he's talking with us about how important the census is, and that we're not having many babies born in the county. A lot of our youth that graduate, go off to college, they're not coming back to the county. So when we look at the birth rates in the county, we're not having a lot of babies born in the county. So we need to encourage some of our own to come back to our county. And so it would help us economically, it would help us educationally, and it would help us in a lot of ways.
Any questions about our enrollment update? Thank you, Mr. Dixon.
And our young man from the Census Bureau, he will be back to do a presentation for us as well.
Okay, good, that's good. All right, we're gonna move on to item C, which is a Georgia Milestones update. This is an information item, and our principals and Mr. King will be presenting.
And just before Mr. King comes, this information is not in totality. We will not get our information in totality until the fall, when the CCRPI numbers come. So as we get these numbers, we know that it's a partial report, and we will have a full report in the fall once we get all of our information that's included in the CCRPI. But this is the information as we have it right now. Mr. King.
So, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, as Mr. Dixon just alluded to, this will be our current content mastery as of our last milestone. We know in October, once we get our quote-unquote grade for the CCRPI, it would include content mastery, it include growth, it include our progress, our readiness, our closing the gap, and of course for our high school, it will include our high school graduation rate. But what we want to show you tonight is actually the content mastery of where our students are. Tonight on this presentation, you won't see much of the growth because we're still waiting on those things to be included into our SLDS. We've started kind of playing with the numbers and calculating, but we don't want to give out anything official until we can see where we are. On the next slide, this is how the slide will be set up. I'm going to give you just a background of where we are, and then I'll let the principals lead us through their schools. Tonight's chart will be set up just like this. We know there's 4 achievement levels. Of course, we talk about it all the time: beginning, developing, proficient, and distinguished. As you're gonna notice, I did it kind of like a traffic light. We want to get out of the red. We want to move towards the green. The red is where we have our beginning learners, which are those students that we have to really tackle. Now, even some of these beginning learners, we're seeing the growth, but we know that it's going to take time to move them. Of course, we want to get them on the other side of that black line, where they're in the yellow, where they're making progress into proficient and distinguished learner, which is what we want to see our students at. So As you look at the presentation tonight, keep in mind of that black line in the middle. I think as the presentation goes, it's going to turn into a red line. But we want to move from that achievement level beginning to the other side of the line. So as you see, you're going to see in some areas, we are already there. We have more students on the other side than we do on the red side, which is great. But we're trying to get everybody out of that red zone, at least till we know that they're moving. So I'm going to let Mr. Paul share his 3 through 5, and then Dr. Reynolds will share 6 through 12.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Superintendent Dixon, and our board members and our community. I have with me tonight because this is not just me, it's the whole school, and this is the data team who represents our school makeup. We have with us tonight Ms. Hams, Ms. Mike, Ms. Smith, new teacher with us, Ms. Pearson, and part of our data team is Mr. King, as well as one missing, Mr. Harris. So what I want to do is present on behalf of our school to you tonight our data that Mr. King has referenced. So our first slide, you'll see our ELA, which is language arts. Our third grade, we had 48% of our students who are at the beginning, where he said in the red, and then you move across that line to what we call the yellow and the green. We have about 52% of our kids, so our numbers have increased there. Fourth grade, we have 44%, which is 27 of our students out of 62.
Mr. Polk, if you could just slow down just a little bit. So
Okay.
when we're talking about third grade, were there any questions about third grade? Okay, moving on.
Okay, fourth grade, out of the 62 students, we have 27 of those, which is about 44%. A little under half of our students who are still in the red. 29%, or 29 is that level 2, which we want to move those kids up to level 3 and level 4. Any questions with our fourth grade students, ELA? And we see our fifth grade students who are now current sixth grade students. 51% of those students are in the red. 30% are in level 2 as we move up the spectrum. So we have about 49% of those students who have crossed over into the yellow and the green areas there. And as you notice, the largest population of our red students are in the fifth grade area. Are there any questions concerning there? Okay. We move into our math section next. Again, third grade with the same amount of students, 63 students. We have a total of 21, which is 33%, who are in the red. As we move across, we see a percentage of higher. It's 1/3 across the board. We didn't have any to celebrate success in level 4, but we did have about 66% in level 2 and level 3. Right, from the move to fourth grade. As we look at our fourth grade students, 42% of those students are below, which is 26. So we're looking at about 58% of our students who are at the level 2 or higher, and we'll celebrate success, at least have 4 students who have hit a distinguished mark in fourth grade. And again, if you notice, fifth grade is another area of concern for us in math, 62% of those students. So we had to do some shifting, some errors there. So this is the number. We are looking at about 30% of our students there who are in the number 2, 3, and 4. Do we have any questions there? So now we're moving into our science and social studies, which will be populated from our fifth grade students. And again, if you notice, fifth grade students are weak in science with 57%. That's well over half of our students. So we're looking at about 43% of our students who are at level 2, 3, and we do have 2 students who were distinguished there. Do our social questions? As we look at these numbers, I know the numbers are high in fifth grade, but as this data team behind me who's been digging into the data, we realized some issues that we need to work on, and we will address those for this upcoming school year. So those numbers should be totally different as we have expectation that's in place. As well as social studies, 53 students, again, 34% of those students are there. 58% is at level 2, while we have 6%, and we still have one student who had distinguished in social studies. So the area of concern for us, as you know, here is in science, which is our grade level area of focus is 5th grade. And based off the data that we're looking at, they're digging into the data to find out which areas. And also the data team behind me, they're charged to find out which of those kids are close to the bubble on each content mastery as achievement level descriptors, so we can focus on the strategies to move forward. We're very committed to improve these scores, and I think the team behind us and things, initiatives in place, we can make it happen. Are there any questions based off the data from Jeffersonville at this point?
Just to make sure we all understand on the language arts, and I probably should have asked this during the language arts time, that is our reading and the writing
Correct.
in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade.
And not only just in ELA, but across the content areas, because
Constructive
constructive
responses.
responses and all of those. But we feel like if we hone in the ELA and reading, that we see the results in other subject areas. So you're absolutely right. And that's actually one of our literary goals. Literacy is our main focus, and we have spent a lot of Title I dollars to focus on that across the spectrum.
I know a few weeks back, Dr. Dickey presented to our board about his program and everything, and I just wanted to ask, do all of your teachers have everything they need to teach with the Epiphany?
There are, as of today, Ms. Riddin, our instructional coach, has got in contact with Dr. Dickey, where our teachers have presented some areas of growth, and so she's on top of that, and there's been constant communication with her and Dr. Dickey, and she's been relaying information to our teachers. So he's working on some things that we need to get, but 99% of the things, I think, according to her, if I speak percentage-wise, should be fixed. And he's aware of what need to be fixed.
But in the past, I mean, so we looking at these from last year, so did they have what they needed last year for these schools?
There was some stuff that they had access to, and there were some things that if we look at the 5th grade, which we had the biggest concern, we had to move some teachers around subject-wise to make sure we get that. So to answer your question, not directly, but indirectly, there were some issues that we had, but it's been resolved this year.
We don't know, we're not sure if it was total, if it was, we had resources for teaching. So we're not sure if it was a resource issue or if it was a teaching issue. And some student issues, because even after coming in and bringing other teachers to work with some of these students, we still didn't get any other results from some of those. Am I correct in that response?
We had, and that's where we're dealing with the growth of the measures. So some kids went up, and some stayed about flatline. So we got to really wait until the retest comes in so we can analyze all that data together. But I think it's a combination of all the three. Some of it is teacher support, some of it is resource support, some of it is students. So we're not going to put blame on any one group. We take the blame collectively and work through to solve the issues. I think this team here with me can attest that they've been in the trenches. As we have on this team, a new team member, so we spread the work out. It's not just in-house in the admin office, but we spread it out throughout the school so everybody can have total ownership and to buy in, to dig into the resources and make sure we're there.
Go ahead.
I would just like for, when you say the students, explain that one to me again.
Okay, when I say students, for example, during the milestone, we had teachers to take anecdotal notes, meaning write down what the kids was doing during the milestone assessment, whether they were sleeping during the test, whether they rushed through the test. So we had those notes, and we made contact with parents, and even during summer school. We had some of the same kids who slept during the milestone in the spring, they slept through the milestone in the summer. And we had some kids who came to summer school who played while they played through the course of the year. So when I say students, we're talking about that population of students that we've been in contact with the parents about this year too, as we've been pulling those students in for interventions already.
Mr. Rice, you have a question? How is our retention policy going? Because I know in 3rd and 5th grade it's supposed to be a gate grade, and I know about the summer school and the conference. Do we actually have children in 3rd grade and in 5th grade who that were in third and fifth grade last year that were actually retained this time?
We do. Currently in the third grade, we have a total of 11 kids, and we're doing a plus class with those kids. We want to make sure that retention is something that's going to help our children, not hinder them for the future. And so we have 2 teachers who are really working on those skill deficiencies, and they're high-quality teachers. And so their object is to make sure to give those gaps, that missing gaps. And so if they have an opportunity to excel when we meet with parents, then we're trying to push them up to the 4th grade, so they're trying to get a double dose. And so we want to make sure we have everybody successful in the building.
And then how did the fifth grade go?
The 5th grade, most of those kids in 5th grade that were low, we had meetings with the parents, and during a couple of the meetings in the summer school, they did what they were supposed to do. Some of the scores you see there are on borderline, and so those scores was actually go up. So there's some that we have recommended for EIP services, which is REP for middle high school, and so their plan will follow them on their educational plan that we put together for them.
And I did have one appeal for one of the retentions, and I did support, as the state model. I did support the school in the retention.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Good evening.
my board chair, vice chair, Superintendent Dixon,
Yes,
and to all of our stakeholders. We're excited to be here from Twiggs County Middle High School. Mr. Harris has come up, who's our assistant principal, and Ms. Ritter is in the back. I thought she was coming up as well, but all of us play an intricate part in this. So our scores from, we would do the middle school first. And we first have our language arts scores, and they are broken down by grade level. For our 6th grade, you can see from this slide that we have 47% of our students who were at level 2, which is developing or above. And that is an improvement from last year, so we're excited about that. 7th grade, we have 51% of those students who are level 2 or above. And for our 8th graders, 82% of our students. And that's a hand clap, you guys, because 82% of our 8th graders were at developing or above. Okay. Any questions? Okay. If we move on to our math scores, 6th grade, if you look at math, we have 69% of our students who were at developing or higher. 7th grade, 70% of those students were at developing or higher. And 8th graders, 56% of our 8th graders were at developing or higher. Any questions on 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math?
Why is the student in language art 57 in the 8th grade and 41 on the math?
some took algebra
For the 7th grade?
Yeah.
Why is it?
8th grade.
algebra 1.
This is regular 8th grade
Oh,
math
okay.
here.
Some of them took
Okay.
You mean the number of students? Okay, yeah. Some of those students are taking algebra 1, and we will discuss that. Yes, ma'am, it is. And, if you look at our 8th grade in science, now science, there were 37% of our students who were at level 2 or higher. There were 41 students there, and that's also, we had those 16 students that took physical science, the high school course. For social studies, we had a total of 57 students, and 77% of those students scored at level 2 or higher. And you can see the level that we had 32% of those students in social studies at proficient, and 12% of those students were distinguished. Okay, here we go with our Algebra 1, those the other 16 students. And if you look at that, all of those students, 100% were at level 2 or higher, and that is level 2 or higher, and we were so pleased with that. Physical science as well. We had a total of 16 students, and all of those students, 100% were at 100% development or higher.
And could you slow down for just a moment?
Yes, sir.
Because some of our stakeholders that are here, these are our 8th graders that took the high school Algebra 1 and the physical science, high school physical science course, and had to take the high school tests as 8th graders. And so they already have the high school credit for that. And they're what we call the move on when ready, or the dual enrollment when you hear that. These students are being exposed already to that, so they'll be ready to go on to take the college courses as they're moving forward upwards. So.
Most of those students have 4 high school credits.
Is it the same
Yes,
are they the same
ma'am.
students?
Those are the
Do
same.
algebra and physical, it's the same 16?
Those are the same students.
So you pull the right
We
route,
pull,
you got the
and
right
we
route.
have to go through that and just look at that data and make sure we do get the right students to get in that program.
Does the same teachers teach the algebra 1 and teaches the math?
No, that was the
We've got
same, no, they weren't.
Special.
They were different teachers.
Okay.
Now we'll move on to our high school scores. In high school, for 9th grade lit, there were 83% of those students who were developing or higher. And that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, American Lit, we had 47% of our students who were developing or higher. Any questions? You can go on to the next one. Our next slide would be our math, which is Algebra 1 for our high school.
Let's go back to that American Lit. Do you know on that American Lit comparison to prior, is that about the same? Is that down? Because that's not a celebratory.
No, it went down.
Okay,
The American Lit went down from the previous year.
okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. I've got some theories about that, okay. All right.
Okay, for our math, Algebra 1, 55% of our students were at developing or higher. At geometry, 30% of our students were at level 2 or higher. Any questions on those?
Now, the difference between the algebra 1 and the 8th grade and the algebra 1 and the high school is every child takes.
Yes.
Every 9th grader, is that pretty
Those
much
were
takes the
9th
algebra
graders,
1?
yes. Mhm.
So all of them take it instead of the,
Maybe some 10th graders in there as well.
okay. And then they,
Okay.
that's all.
With geometry, we said 30% of our students were at level 2 or higher.
Did they have to take it? Do they have to take it? Or maths? That's right.
Okay, our next slide would be our science scores, physical science. 39, we only had 39% of our students who were developing or higher for physical science. And then biology for the high school, we had 87% of our students who were developing or higher. So that is something to celebrate. Any questions on science? Okay. Next item, social studies. For our U.S. history, there were 59% of our students who scored at developing or higher. And for economics, 52% of those students scored at level 2 or higher. Any questions?
No, half of them take it online. And economics now, are they, some of them are taking it online and
They
then
are.
some are taking it
Yes,
with the
with
teacher.
the teacher.
Some of them are taking the college.
College
So
ed.
college economics, so it will be the one that's online.
Mhm. Right.
Any other questions? I'm just asking, Ramsey, with the educational epiphany, do all of our teachers have what they need in advance to teach what they need?
We had, pretty much everything we needed. There was a couple of units missing, but we got those. I think, Ms. Ridlin had emailed, and those did come in for math, right?
Yes, they did.
So we got all of that in.
In advance?
Yes.
So that they don't have to wait, not the day before, cause
You're right,
most
you're
of our
right.
teachers wanna go and plan a long time in advance or a while in advance, at least it will be, so.
I just would like to piggyback on what, Ms. Rainey said. Mr. King, you may help out with this. What data, what evidence do we have to actually show that Epiphany is working for all the schools? What data are y'all using?
Now, with us, and I wanna go back like with math, that's all we used was education epiphany. And if we look at those scores from our students, you know, going through, when we annotate that objective and just going back, following that gradual release model, we've seen drastic improvement. So we can pull up that and pull up that data from each one of those students. Now, as far as for the program itself, Mr. King may have more information on that.
And I think it's
As far as
gonna
our
go
student.
back to actually determining if we're using it with fidelity.
Yes.
Like today, having a chance to go through with the middle high school teachers, the ones that I've used in the past, like the ELA teachers for
Social
middle school,
studies.
social studies, they have used it and they told me what helped. Some areas they had to kind of bring in, with any type of curriculum, we have to bring in a little piece of here and there.
But I know
but
we've
it
been on
seems-
this one for 2 years.
This is like, we're going into our second year with this one.
Yeah.
And it goes back to fidelity. We see some teachers did exceptionally well with it. Some teachers, I don't think they used it. I'm looking at our fifth grade teachers, our fifth grade scores from last year. I don't know if we really pushed it and used it with fidelity. So when I say, is it working? We're still trying to determine if it's working. Some teachers are saying yes. Some teachers are not really pushing forth to use it. They want a basal, and you know they don't make basals anymore. You can't get a math teacher's edition anymore. It's Common Core. You got to actually put it together. So I think that's what a lot of teachers are wanting. They want that textbook. They got the problems in it with the odd answers in the back, but they don't make those anymore. We have to actually pull the Common Core resources together. And so some are using it with fidelity, and there's a couple teachers that we see already that we're gonna have to actually help coach. Like on yesterday, I did a coaching session with one teacher. I taught the second period class. I used Education Epiphany. He in return came back and taught the third period class. We talked about it after school yesterday, and it opened up his mind to where he was just kind of picking the objective and just kind of trying to work with it. But you gotta go through the whole plan. And so I think those teachers that are weak, it's gonna take some coaching with them. So we'll know by the end of this year, another year, to see where we are with it.
If it's working.
If it's,
because I know we're spending a lot of money in it, you know, so, and I know everybody is blaming everybody, like the teachers are getting blamed, the principals are getting blamed, the superintendent are getting blamed, the board is getting blamed for our numbers, you know, for our scores. Social media is wearing us out, you know, so we wanna make sure that it's working. If it's not working, we need to change and get something that is working, because it's all about our children.
Absolutely.
And could I say one thing about, you want this, about what data that we have, and
Yes.
what we're doing, we collect, like with the very first part of our instructional framework, we make sure that our teachers have that objective on the board, and what we do as administrators, we go around to every class to make sure that's displayed on the board. That's the first step. So we do that, and then if we go in, if we see that there's that framework on the board, you know, we wanna make sure that they're using that framework and we know exactly where they are. Not only that, we talk with our students. Now, students can tell you what they're doing.
Yeah.
Then they're doing it. I had a child, and I was in a language arts class this week, and they were doing the graduate release. She said to me, I sat next to her, she said, "You want me to tell you what we're doing?" I said, "Yes, I do." And she told me exactly what they were doing. She used that language, understand it. That was a part of that annotated objective. So that's what it's, you know, talking to those children, collecting that data from the children. They'll tell you exactly what they're doing in the classroom. So I think with any, you know, sometimes you get programs, we gotta make sure we give it enough time to work, that we can collect that data. Some programs, it takes like 2 or 3 years before you can see if it's working.
And we had the same complaint with Reading Street. And but you got to work whatever program that you do have. A program is not going to get any result if you don't work it. And so you have to work it. Mr. Parker, you were trying to.
Yes, sir. I need to clarify about the 5th grade teachers not using fidelity and talk about the numbers matching the data. Now, we did this year, but we also did a 3-year trend data. In our 3-year trend data, our scores have went up. We took and averaged everything together for 3-year trend. So even with math and ELA, we had a 10% increase over the 3-year trend data. Because we used that, as we were talking about Dr. Ramsey, the annotating the standards and a language, we got to give kids something that they can understand. Now, teachers are teaching with fidelity. It's a lot to teach, but they're teaching it. And we should see more of the growth when it comes down to the end of the day. As well as ELA, we had a 12% increase. Now, we got to celebrate every little success, and we got to teach that to our community, that we are making improvement, we are making gains. And so, as we get through this, I think we'll get to see it. Now, I want to clarify, our teachers are using it, because when we're in the classrooms, we're seeing it evident on the board. We're seeing our kids be able to talk about their standards of learning, and we're seeing that. So I just want to clarify that we can see some results tied to what we're doing, so we should see more results this year. Again, I just want to make sure.
As a lead learner, I can say that when there is a glitch, with any program, you're gonna have some glitches. When there is a glitch, it is communicated. When there is not a response, they communicate it to me. I communicate it to them, and you immediately get a response. But there are, you know, if there's something that's not opening, if it's communicated to me, I communicate it, there's a response. There's no good to communicate the response back to me. It's responded back to Ms. Reardon, Mr. King, back to the teachers, because that's where it needs to be communicated. But with any program that you use, any curriculum that you use, there are things that you have to work through. There are updates that have to be done with it, and that's what we spend.
With them, at 9 o'clock tonight, that I'm communicating with them to go work through with their support staff, to work through some of the links and some of the things. I was just clarifying that, firming that up when I walked in here tonight. So at 9 o'clock tonight, I'll be with them on the computer, going through things line by line. And,
Any glitches?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Any other?
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all so much, thank you so much. All right, our next item on the agenda will be the football update. This is an information item, and Coach Perry is going to present. Go Cobras.
Hello, everyone. I am Coach Perry. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you all.
Excuse me, let me introduce you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, this is Coach Arade Perry. He's our head football coach of Mighty Fighting Cobras, and we are excited to have him as a part of our team, and he will be leading us this year. And we would like to say, welcome, Coach Arade Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. I appreciate that. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful welcome. All right, not to be before you long, just to give you some updates as of where we're standing right now. We currently have maybe 25 players. We still have about 4 or 5 players that we're kind of still waiting on physicals or whatnot. They need to be turned in before they can be eligible. Thus far, we're preparing for our football game this Friday night against Central Talbotton. The guys are still at practice right now, so they should be finishing up shortly. And we're kind of pushing practice back because it's been so hot. You know, we have to be mindful of the heat index, and making sure that we're doing the right things. And Dr. Ramsey and Coach Harris, they're making sure we staying on top of that, protecting our young men. So far, so good. We've had some fundraisers last month. One big car, our very first car wash that we had, we raised close to $500. So that was a great success. We do have some other fundraisers that'll be coming down the pipeline, for like maybe fish fries and barbecue plate sales, things of that nature, but we'll make sure we get that information to you all in time to get that approved. But the guys seem pretty happy. We know we lost a couple of players, but you know that happens at schools, and we do have some more players that are stepping up, doing what they need to do. They seem to be pretty excited. Also, we do have a lot of community support from different businesses and different churches that have been donating funds and different items to our program. We're very appreciative. Matter of fact, today we were able to give out some cleats to the rec department because we have such an influx of cleats that was given to us from Academy. They gave us so many that all the high school football players, they have a pair of cleats that we gave out today. They were super excited about that. And right, and so the rest of the shoes, I guess we can bring up here and let some parents have, and also the rec, the boys like 7, 8 years old, we have plenty of cleats. It's like an overflow. But, so they really have been a blessing to us, and they've donated some water, different supplies to us. So we're off to the right track. Everybody's been supportive of us. We're just moving forward. We're just trying to be excited and let people know that we're ready for some football here in Twiggs County.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
And we have 2 home games?
We have 4.
4 home
Four
games,
home
I'm sorry.
games. That's correct.
I'm
Yeah, but our first home game is
Okay.
not until like September. I think it was
okay,
the 18th or the 21st, something like that.
okay. And then the homecoming ball game is, which?
I guess Wilkinson County.
Wilkinson.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Now the schedule has already. People
October.
ask me, it's already been put in place. You know, when you do the schedule, you do it for 2 years in a row,
Right.
and we're just going by. So they just flip it from 1 year you're at home, and the next year you're away. Right.
It's on the website.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
good. All right. Any questions? Thank you, Coach Perry.
All right, thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much. Good luck
Thank you.
for Friday night. Thank you. Our last item on our business agenda will be an information item, and this is Williams Chapel CME land purchase inquisition.
Madam Chair, we were approached from Williams Chapel Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. They have a cemetery that is adjacent to our property across the street from our high school, and they are nearing to completion of their cemetery property and are interested in the possibility of acquiring a piece of our property for more cemetery space. And one of their representatives is here this afternoon, Mr. Tommy Lee Bryant. So I'm gonna ask that he would just come speak to us, and we would just hear it for information, and this would be an executive session matter that we will discuss, in executive session, and get back with, them at the time. Mr. Bryant, would you come?
Madam Chairman, Sister Chairman, and Superintendent, and District 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To each and every one that is present. I'm here to represent William Chapel CME Church. As the superintendent stated, we have our cemetery next, connected to the property. And what I have been asked, being advised of the trustee board, and to seek guidance, see could we buy at least an acre, 2 acres. That property all depends on how much. You know how churches are today. The financial situation, it ain't like it used to be. And so see at where our property at 9, the cemetery, in the flat land down there, that's wetland. And we cannot go in wetland, we cannot go back. If I go to that to the right, but we have to go to our left up to here to that Watson Road, and then that's where we will try to, like, if necessary, to purchase 1 acre, 2 acres of land there, because we are running out. We're running out. And so I think that will, if we could get that, I think it'll last us some years. And so that is our request.
Take it into advisement and, maybe see a map. I wonder if we could do this.
Mr. Bacon and I walked over, and we do have an electronic map of it where we can, we can pull it up and show it to you all exactly, the layout of the land and the plot that we're talking about. So we did do a walkthrough over, there.
See, when the board had y'all timber cut, those crew, they cut the church timber too. We had them to cut cemetery too, and that made it look better than what it was. And we thank them very much. They didn't get too much, we didn't have too much timber there because we didn't have too much land. And so they blessed us. We told them they could have the timber, but, we just want it removed so we can try to extend out a little. And so they did that, and they blessed us. They said our timber side, we got $500 out of that timber. It was a blessing, And so, and we want to try to extend it because we're running out. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Thank you.
Advisement.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, if there's nothing else on our business, we're going to have any business discussion from this time. Okay, all right, is there a motion to move into executive session for personnel matters? The motion has been made by Ms. Blackshear and seconded by Mr. Rouse to move into executive session for personnel matters. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. And we shall return. Entertain a motion to move from executive session into regular session. Okay, Ms. Stokes made the motion and Mr. Harris seconded the motion to return to regular session from our executive session. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously, and in our executive session, we discussed personnel recommendations. And I'll just go through the list there. You have your list before you, so you can, for reference. In the first recommendation, employee 4267, SPED Parapro for Elam, E-L-A-M. Is there a motion to approve that recommendation?
Madam Chair, I make that motion.
The motion has been made by Mr. Harris and seconded by Mr. Rouse to approve employee 4267 for the sped para pro at Elam. All in favor, please raise your hand. That's for Ms. Stokes, did you say yes? That motion carries unanimously. The next, recommendation on the list, employee 1910, JES K-5 teacher. Is there a motion to approve that recommendation?
Madam Chair, I make that motion.
The motion has been made by Mr. Harris. Is there a second?
I second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Harris and seconded by Mr. Rouse to approve recommendation 1910 JES K-5 teacher. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. The next, recommendation on the list, recommendation 0801, Parapro. Is there a motion to approve that recommendation?
I make that motion.
Second.
The motion has been made by Mr. Rouse and seconded by Ms. Blackshear to approve recommendation 0801, Parapro. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to approve recommendation 0802, APJES? Let me know if you need any more time with it. Okay, that motion failed. No motion on that, no movement on that. Is there a motion to approve recommendation 0803, community band coach?
Move that motion.
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Blackshear and seconded by Mr. Harris to approve 0803, community band coach. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. Looking at our resignation, is there a recommendation to approve 803, the resignation for Parapro?
I'll make that motion.
The motion has been made by Ms. Stokes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Blackshear to accept the resignation for EID 803. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. And looking at our transfers and appointments, is there a motion to approve EID 3694 transfer, part-time to full-time custodian?
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been made by Ms. Stokes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Blackshear. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. And is there a motion to approve the appointment of 804 art teacher to end on September the 30th, 2019?
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been made by Ms. Stokes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rouse. Once again for recommendations 804, appointment for art teacher. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries unanimously. That concludes our recommendations for this evening. One of the things we were not able to discuss in our executive session was the land issue that was brought forth earlier. Mr. Dixon, will you do some preliminary work, and at our next meeting, let's talk about that so that our board will be able to talk about that land and put it on our agenda so we can discuss it. The land that, Mr. Bryant brought this evening, okay? All right? There was no motion, it wasn't an action item, and we couldn't discuss it in our executive session because it wasn't on our agenda. So we'll just talk about it next time, our next meeting, yes, we'll have some preliminary information about that at our next meeting. With that being said, that concludes our recommendations and our meetings, and our meeting this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Made by Ms. Stokes and seconded by Mr. Rouse. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion carries.